Hello everyone, in this video I'd like to discuss the differences between kata and the way that it's applied in combat. In particular, I would like to draw out one of Gichin Funakoshi's 20 precepts, where he talks about always perform kata exactly, combat is another matter. Now in the book Karate Do Taikan, Genwa Nakasone expands on this concept, and these expansions were endorsed by Funakoshi himself. And as part of that expansion, he says, never be shackled by the rituals of kata, but instead move freely according to the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. So the movement as it appears in the kata is an illustration of principle. It's a concept, it's an idea. And then what you're supposed to do is take that concept and idea and practice applying it in the infinite number of different ways in which that can be applied. This is well recorded. Motobu talked about how we should be able to apply the principles of kata such that we could bend with the winds of adversity. Mabuni talked about how it's impossible to create forms that include all the innumerable variations. So what the kata does is it contains one example. But when we do the kata, we still try and get it precise. And the reason we do that is because what we're looking for there is body control. So for example, when I'm applying a movement, I'll change the way I apply that movement depending on what's actually happening. Is the opponent taller or shorter? Are they pushing towards me? Are they moving away? Are we shifting clockwise, anti-clockwise? What's the surrounding environment? There's lots of factors that are unknown by the kata itself. But in the kata it goes, we always want your hand in this exact place. And the reason for that is not because the movement will work or won't work unless it's in that exact place, because you will vary it depending on the circumstances in application. It's so that you've got muscle control and your body is doing exactly what you require it to do. We always perform the kata exactly, but in combat we'll vary it depending on the circumstances. So to give an example, if you would let your students or yourself, vary the movement as you saw fit, anyone watching that kata would have no way of knowing whether you were able to control your own muscles or not. So let's say you do a movement, the first time you do it, you stick your hand here and your hand's off to one side. Oh, no, I imagine the opponent had shifted slightly that way. Okay. Next time they do it, your hand's high now. Oh, yeah, this guy's slightly taller. Now, okay, yeah, but this guy's slightly shorter and off that way. Well, is that true, or are you just useless at kata? You've no way of controlling your muscles. So in the kata, whichever style it is that you do, we have a datum version where we go, right, when you do this kata, your hand should be exactly here. Your stance should be exactly here. Now, there are other entirely legitimate ways to show that principle. You could show it imagining in a slightly different scenario where, again, the people are moving differently or of a slightly different build. But what the kata does is it picks one specific example that it wants you to do when you're doing the solo form in order to develop that high degree of muscle control, so you can learn to put your limb exactly where you want to put it. Then, of course, when we start doing the partner work and bunkai work, we'll adapt to our partner, and it has to transmute all the way through to live flowing practice. Again, it's in the literature throughout. Otsuka, as another example, the founder of Wado, said it's important to train the formal kata, but one must not become stuck within them. We must take a step back from the kata to produce countless other forms of training, or else it becomes useless. Essentially, it is a habit, and because it is a habit, it will come to life through the subconscious mind. So what he's saying there, like all his contemporaries, what he's saying is, train the kata in the right way, but when you apply it, accept that the movement in the kata is an illustration of principle, and there are lots of other ways to show that principle, to encapsulate it. And when you apply it, what we're really trying to do is internalize those combative principles. As I tell my students all the time, we don't fight with kata, we don't fight with bunkai, we fight with the habits that the kata and bunkai have given us, those internalized principles. So yes, when we do the kata, it needs to be exact and precise. When we apply it with a partner, we need to accept that there's going to be innumerable variations based on the specifics. And whichever example we choose in the kata, it's only ever going to be one example, right? You can choose any example you want, but if the guy's slightly taller, it'll be different. Shorter, it'll be different. Pulling or pushing, it will be different. That there's so many possible variations that, as Mabuni said, it would be impossible to make a kata that contained them all. So the past masters picked one and went, okay, this shows you what you need to know. Do this exactly when you're doing it in solo practice. But when you come to partner practice, then as Nakasone said, you should not be shackled by the rituals of Kata, but you should move freely according to the opponent's strengths and weaknesses.